Hi, welcome to Chez Les Fleur podcast, where we talk to women that are doing great things in the business world, where they're having fun, where they're being challenged, where they're challenging each other, where they're challenging their staff, all the ins and outs, the problems and wonderment. And we really appreciate that you're here to see us today. If you are watching for the first time, welcome. If you are back for a repeat visit with us, we're really glad to have you back. And today I have with me Sonya Svichtcheva,
Yes.
and she is in the golf world. So she's a young, excited, working in golf, and we're going to talk about all the things, the exciting things that are happening at golf. So, Sonya, thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate it because I guess golf season's kind of winding down now and it's not as crazy as it is in the summertime.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I really appreciate, coming on. I'm so excited to be able to share, a unique industry. Not a lot of people, I guess, know kind of the ins and outs. They might see it on TV or something like that, but I'm definitely excited to share, maybe more nuanced perspective on this wonderful sport industry as a whole.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. Thank you. No, I really appreciate it. So you're working out at Peterborough Golf and Country Club.
That's correct,
And how
yes.
long have you been there?
So I've been at Peterborough for 6 years. I started in high school, I think in 2019, so I was kind of in grade 11 and then worked in the pro shop just as a sales associate really. And then as I entered university, I kind of, you know, gained more experience, running leagues, handling tournaments, obviously still as a summer job. And then now post university, I'm, almost 1 year out. So it's been a really interesting shift to see kind of the life cycle of my employment there. So yeah.
What did you study at university?
So I was a liberal arts major with a concentration in literature. And then I also studied marketing and I also did a minor in East Asian studies with a concentration in Japanese. So I would say I had a pretty unconventional, I guess, entry into the golf industry. My parents didn't play golf. Nobody really that I grew up with played golf. And so it was really kind of a unique, refreshing era that I was going into as I was growing up because I really had no idea about it. I didn't really even watch golf. So I think it was really, really interesting to, study at a university, not really in a hospitality program, but then still find myself and end up working in club management and in golf.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
golf, I probably like most sports,
Hmm.
really fits right across all demographics and all, you know, it's
Absolutely.
it's not like polo.
Mm, for sure.
It's, and I'm sure somebody's going to phone in and say polo goes across the demographics too, but I'm not sure to the extent that other sports do.
Hmm.
Um, what do you see? I mean, I'm sure you said you organize tournaments, and I know you do
Hmm.
the ladies events, which are
Hmm.
fabulous. And what do you think the big boost or the big chip in popularity for golf is?
Definitely. I think, I really saw it blow up during COVID. That's really kind of when I was gaining more responsibility at work. So I saw it more from like a tournament registration. People are just really interested and want to see what golf is all about. But I think, the reason why it's, gaining popularity so much these days is like, access to media and access, to golf being disseminated on social media. That's honestly where I became super interested in it. I would go to work and I would see all the golfers, but then I could go home and see, different, stories being shared on Instagram or on YouTube. And I really think that's kind of the where the popularity comes from because it, like you said, it is able to be shared, across the world. And a lot of stories are able to be shared, especially with women too. You know, I'm obviously a woman working in golf, so that's where I get a lot of my media from, but you know, especially from the LPGA and, you know, more locally, in Peterborough and in Toronto, there's a program called Iron Lady, and we have hosted a few Iron Lady clinics at Peterborough, and I was fortunate enough to meet Lindsay and her kind of community of women that she has with Iron Lady. And so it really was interesting to see it kind of pop up in various demographics and see where and what drove that popularity. And so I think that kind of kept me coming back each year and makes me still really excited to be in this industry to this day.
Yeah, it's interesting what COVID did for
Hmm.
several sports. We, in a previous podcast, had a friend of mine, Hope, and she's in the equestrian business. And she saw a surge in young people riding horses because
Wow,
they couldn't play soccer, they couldn't play baseball, but they could be active on a horse by themselves, and it's still, it just, it's
absolutely.
it's been fascinating. Um, how has golf changed over the last few years? Or what changes have you
Yeah.
seen?
I guess what changes I've seen, I think kind of what I spoke to before, I think a lot of people are used to golf as adhering to a very traditional, I guess, like country club, very uppity, like the perception of golf used to be very static, I think previous to COVID. And, you know, obviously I'm speaking from a very limited perspective because, you know, I'm not that old, so and I've only been in the industry for 6 years. So maybe, you know, people that have been here for longer can have a better, you know, point of view. But I think in this short while that I've understood golf and have been in the industry, I think, you know, like I said before, golf can be enjoyed not just like at a really private, exclusive country club, but, you know, in the evenings at a local clinic or going to the driving range. And I think those forms of golf are more legitimate or have become more legitimate than just, you know, signing up for a private country club membership and then
Yeah.
going and playing. And so I really do think that form of golf and the sport has really, really changed. It is an individual sport, of course, but I do think there is more a community aspect now. And I think that's just through people's interest and desire and passion to just want to kind of learn what it's all about. So, yeah.
I also, and maybe I'm wrong, but I
Hmm.
get the perception there are a lot more younger, I'm going to say children, because I think some of them aren't teenagers, like are younger than like a preteen.
Hmm.
It seems to be my perception that there's more of a focus on that age group.
Definitely. And I think what is really interesting about golf is that, and I think is also a really big barrier, is obviously there's such a upfront equipment cost that comes with golf. And obviously the more, you know, the older you get, the more expensive the equipment can be. But I think when you're younger, I think the access to the equipment is a little easier. It's a bit more fluid. It's not
Mhm.
as expensive too. And so that is also a reason for somebody's kid to get into golf. You know, maybe it's harder when you're older. That upfront cost is still super, super high and is definitely a challenge. But when you are younger, even like, you know, going to a big box store and buying like a plastic set and playing with that in the yard or, you know, junior clubs, those are obviously more accessible to kids and they don't have a, you know, a competitive mindset. They're not intimidated by it. And so I think the freedom to play and the freedom to just be a kid, but also play golf is really big and really important right now, which is really exciting to see, honestly.
Yeah, it is. And I notice, like you say, the young golfers don't have that or not that competitive with each other edge. They're
Yes.
just there to hang out with their friends and have some fun.
Hmm.
The other thing and it's just my perception that golf equipment for that age group is getting better. I mean, gone are the days where you cut off grandma's old clubs,
Yes,
cut them short so that your 8-year-old grandson can play golf. You now
hmm.
can get clubs that are weighted and balanced for
For sure.
someone who's 4 feet 5,
For sure.
and
For sure. And I think what's also really interesting and is definitely a shift in the club management industry specifically. So, a family, whereas the restrictions might have been very strict in the past, are more shifting to accommodate more family-friendly memberships or more of a family-friendly environment at a private club where, maybe in the past before, kids would, not be able to run around or have fun and have to be very strict and very uptight. But now I think with golf being so popular and, the whole family can now get involved in so many different ways, I think on the club management side, on the business side, I think there's a lot of shift towards allowing a more family friendly and I guess less strict environment in the constraints that it can be. So I think that's also why a lot of kids can get into golf now is that they have the access, they're allowed to play golf, whereas in the past before they might have only been able to come with mom or dad, but now they can have, their own memberships, participate in junior camps, go to the driving range, just have more independence within the golf club itself.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch, isn't it? They're a
Definitely.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, two women together, we have to ask this question.
Yeah.
What's the hot fashion piece in ladies golf?
The hot fashion piece. So I think this is a really interesting question and is a passion and a topic of mine that I love. Came into golf and, the first thing I saw was, all the golf clothes because I worked in the pro shop. And so at a golf club, a pro shop is where you can buy all your merchandise and your shoes and your clubs and anything that you want, basically. But over the past few years, and I really do think it is here to stay, is this more casual lifestyle blend. And so I want to say the hot fashion piece would be like a crew neck or a sweater that you can wear both, at the golf club, but also maybe, going out for a casual day or, even at home. And I think that's super interesting because I would have never thought that that would be acceptable or that would be a uniform that would be accepted in the golf world. But I think it really is super hot and it like flies off the shelf every time we stock it. So it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
but you make a good point. It'll take, well, point an old phrase, it'll take you anywhere.
Oh, absolutely. And I think also a really interesting thing is this shift towards maybe like a more gender neutral approach to a golf uniform. So I think, in the past before you would have to adhere to a very strict dress code, but now, with all these trends blending into both men's and women's fashion, you really do see a lot of the styles being replicated for men and for women. And it's really cool to see brands take, you know, their own form of what they want to do with these trends and really kind of make it their own for their demographics and for, all the people that buy their clothes. And it's really, really interesting to see. And I'm very excited to see where this, I guess, more unique, kind of more independent, maybe a little bit rebellious way of
I,
dressing to play
I was
golf
just
is
gonna say,
gonna,
the
yeah,
color and
yeah.
the bold prints and the
Definitely. Yeah, it's really, really interesting to see. And, I think more so on the brand side and what is the hot fashion brand at the moment, a lot of younger brands that, push against Nike or push against these huge brands. A lot of younger people in the industry really want to make a name for themselves. And I really respect that. And so I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to watch out for in the next few years is seeing like, oh, okay, this golf fashion is really changing because it's pushing against what we think about a normal or like a traditional golf dress code, golf uniform is.
yeah, it's cool.
Hmm.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Um, what do you love most about being in the golf industry?
I think the thing that I love most about being in the golf industry is seeing how it's changed over the past few years. I think what gets me up in the morning and what makes me really passionate about this industry is that, of course, it is very old and it does feel like there is an old guard that kind of protects a lot of the standards and traditions. But with anything, with literally how everything works, things do change, and it really is exciting, although I'm young, to be part of that change, to be part of that new age generation that is bringing in, a more refreshed perspective on how you can have a golf club or, have a way of thinking about the industry that is so different than somebody else. And I think something that I also love about golf is that, it is super creative. You can be super, passionate and into it, and that is something that a lot of people respect. And so I think, it's always cool to care. It's always awesome to be super in love with what you do. And I think that's, what I love about being in the industry is just simply loving golf and loving it for the sport and for the beautiful aspect that it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Hmm.
And even if you're not playing well, the scenery is great.
Absolutely. I mean, you're still getting a minimum 2-hour walk if you're playing 9 holes. And, just to be outside to, maybe you're not having a great day, so you don't think things are going your way, but, taking those few moments to stop, to look around, to see, wow, like I am so grateful to be out here on, like, let's say a Tuesday evening, just enjoying a game, like just with your friends. Golf sometimes can be so complicated, but it is really simple when you're surrounded by the people you want to play with. So,
Yeah, well said. Well
yeah.
said. That's so true. So
Yep.
true.
Hmm.
What would you like to tell us about golf that you haven't already?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think, I kind of briefly talked about it before, but there are a lot of really interesting people on social media, a lot of publications. I think coming back to why I love golf and coming back to the creativity aspect of it, there are so many, I guess, indie publications, photographers, golf swing coaches that you would never expect to be super cool, but they are. And they exist online, and it is really cool to be able to interact with people. And, whenever I tell people I work in the golf industry, they're always taken aback. And I think that's something really cool is to kind of subvert people's expectations of who you are, or even just giving them a different idea about what a traditional, very, independent identity can be. And so like golf can be for everyone. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it can be. But I mean, it is definitely hard as well. But yeah.
Well, and the other thing that I like about golf
Hmm.
is you can play it at just about any age.
Yes.
So if you're passionate about golf at 50, you can still be passionate and playing at 70 or 80 or, there are golf courses with these amazing stories of, the guy in his late 80s who never shoots above his age and,
Yeah.
all those legendary golfers that have golfed their whole life and are still golfing and enjoying it. And like you say, with their friends and in a beautiful setting. And
Definitely. And I mean, I always was so intimidated to go and, I still remember my first round of 18 holes. I was so scared that I was going to make a mistake. And, this comes with everything, but to be good at something, I think you need to make so many mistakes that they don't even feel like mistakes anymore. And with golf, it has been really fun to kind of break down what, you think has to be perfect because it is such a hard sport. It may not seem hard and, you see the pros on TV and it's like, oh, well, I can just go to the driving range and do that. But in reality, it doesn't translate. And so I think golf is really challenging and definitely keeps me coming back. And whenever my friends try it and they've never done it before, they're always, you know, so pleased to, have one good shot or their putt is really great or their drive is really awesome. And, I hear them talk about it like over and over and over again.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
it is really interesting. It finds a way to stick with you. And, I've definitely caught the golf bug and I think a lot of people can too if, they
yeah.
just are open about it and want to try it.
Well, and the other thing about golf is it does keep you humble.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
Definitely
Sonya,
humble. Yeah.
yeah. It's been so great chatting with you today and sharing our mutual interest in a great sport. And
Absolutely.
what I like to do at the end, if you're up for it, is
Yes.
ask 5 rapid fire questions, just an either or type thing. So
Perfect.
if you're prepared to put that through, then I'm prepared to ask the questions.
All
I'm
right.
prepared to use my pitching wedge to pitch them to you. How's that?
Okay, sounds great. I'm ready for
Okay.
it.
Henderson or Sharp?
Henderson.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Latte or espresso?
I'm an espresso person.
Cinema or Netflix?
Cinema for sure.
5 wood or a hybrid?
I always go for my trusty 7 hybrid, so I'm gonna have to go hybrid here.
Beautiful. Pizza or burgers?
Pizza for sure, but it has to be, thin crust. Thin crust pizza, always the way to go.
Always the way to go.
Yep. Of
Oh, thank you so much for being with us today on Chez Les Fleur
course.
podcast. I love everything you said and your excitement for golf and your passion. And I hope that people watching this that haven't tried golf will, because everything, hey, folks, everything she said is true. It's so true. And it
Hmm.
is a lot of fun and it is beautiful. So,
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much
and
for
if you're
having me.
by Peterborough Golf and Country Club, stop in and say hello to Sonya and, chat with her about the game. And
Absolutely. I'm
yeah,
always down to chat. I love having a casual conversation. It's, the thing I look forward to the most. So
yeah,
definitely.
beautiful. If you're watching Chez Les Fleur podcast for the first time, welcome. If you're a returning visitor, we're glad to have you with us. And we are excited about our next segment and this season. And again, thank you, Sonya. I know you've got a lot on the go, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.